Gears of War is back for better and worse when it comes to the Gears Reloaded beta that just made its debut today. I played a couple hours of this game, and while I'm enjoying it a lot, there's definitely some things about it that myself and some gamers might just dislike entirely about it. And in some ways, it's a double-edged sword because it does so many things that are great and it stays very true to the original Gears of War, but it also lacks a lot of things that I was kind of expecting or hoping for in this rehash or retread of Gears of War. Now, I have to put a caveat there because one of the biggest, most exciting things about this release isn't that it's coming back to Xbox or PC, but that it's going to be making its way to PlayStation for the very first time. And so, in that context, this might be super fresh for people who've never actually touched the series, but for veterans of this game of Gears of War, and the first Gears of War especially, it may be missing some things. And again, I have to put the asterisk there that this is a beta, so some of these things may change. Maybe there's going to be different modes that fix some of the things I'm about to talk about. But at this point, I only have my impressions of the beta to go off of. So let's take a look. The very first thing that I noticed when I booted up the Gears of War Reloaded beta was that the graphics themselves didn't seem like this tremendous leap from Unreal Engine 3 to Unreal Engine 5. Now, what I want to highlight with that is we did get lucky in the way that we've seen Gears of War get updated in the form of Gears Ultimate. But side by side with Gears Reloaded, this just feels like Gears Ultimate but 4K. And I think the reason that this is leaving a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth is I probably wouldn't have even really been excited for this had we just had some sort of 4K patch applied to Gears Ultimate, which really never happened as I understand. So what I mean is it doesn't look like we're seeing this tremendous visual leap, and I understand Unreal Engine 3 itself was pretty good back in the day, and even playing some of the older Gears titles, it held up quite well, even with just a simple 4K patch on Gears 2 and 3. But looking at this, it was touted as being rebuilt in Unreal Engine 5, and I'm not sure that's completely marketed correctly. And what I mean is I took to Reddit forums like I always do in these cases, and it appears that this is looking like it's just using the same assets and they haven't really taken advantage of Unreal Engine 5 in the way that they could have. Now, with that being said, it does look better, and there are a couple things that I've noticed that look crisper and sharper, but when I think about the leap that I felt like Gears Ultimate had versus Gears, the original one on the 360, it doesn't really seem like that fundamental shift, at least not so far. And again, I do have to highlight and give the benefit of the doubt that this is the beta. So these things could be changed. But as it stands, it just, again, it looks good. It just doesn't look Gears 5 level or on the tier of Gears 5 that I was accustomed to, I guess. And that's kind of what I was hoping for here. Now, the next thing, and this is going to be something that some people might really like or that some people dislike. This plays very, very closely to Gears Ultimate or the original Gears of War. So, in other words, this doesn't feel as smooth or as streamlined as Gears 4 and 5 felt, or even Gears of War 3. This feels a lot, I would say a little bit slower. It feels a little more methodical, which depending on your style of play, you might really like this. And depending on how deep you were into the original Gears of War, this might be a huge plus. The thing, though, that I worry about is one of the detracting points from Gears of War, in my opinion, was it wasn't the easiest game to get into and was not the easiest game to really jump into if you've never played this style of game before. And I felt like Gears 4 and Gears 5 kind of took steps to streamline it a bit to make it more accessible for the average gamer. Now, for me, I like this style of Gears of War. To me, this is what I grew up playing and how I enjoy playing Gears best. However, if you're someone who's never touched the series and you're a PlayStation guy and you're trying to go into this as if it's going to be some Call of Duty-esque third-person shooter, you're going to be completely disappointed. And I'm not going to say that's necessarily a negative thing. I like this play style of Gears. But I think that some people might go into this with the wrong expectations. And of course, that's why you have betas. And there's potential that, I'm just speculating, I have no proof of this, nor have I even researched this. There's speculation that the Coalition might add some sort of modern style mode that makes it more streamlined. But in the beta, we only really have access to Team Deathmatch. And with that, it plays well and I enjoy it. And it feels very much like the original Gears of War played, and it has the same level of, I don't want to use the word jankiness, but almost the mechanicalness of the movement that has since been kind of streamlined or dumbed down a bit in the later Gears games, which I liked, and in a lot of ways I preferred. But I'm just saying that if you're someone who's never gotten into this, this might be something that kind of keeps you out of really getting into the beauty of this game, because it's not a pick up and play popcorn shooter like Call of Duty. It really is a game that, to me, I've said it before, is like chess with shotguns. Now, overall, we only have the Team Deathmatch. We only have the handful of maps to try in the beta, and so so far, I'm having a great time playing this. I'm having a blast, but I am partially disappointed that the visual leap, or the visuals that I thought we were going to be getting, don't really feel like we're getting this massive step up from Gears Ultimate. And maybe I'm just looking at it from that perspective, that we had Gears Ultimate, which was kind of an in-between, I guess, when you consider it, and I would have been perfectly satisfied with a 4K update. Now, with that in view, I'm also a guy who has Game Pass Ultimate or whatever, so I'm not going to actually buy this game. I'm just going to keep it on my Xbox, play it, and continue playing it, just like I did with Gears 5 and just like I've done when revisiting some of the older Gears games. So when I look at it from that perspective, I see value in this, and I'm going to be an advocate and constant player of this, especially for how well it's currently playing. But I still would have liked to have seen a true recreation in Unreal Engine 5. And maybe I'm mistaken, but this does really feel like one-to-one assets with the original Gears, or Gears Ultimate even, but in 4K with some nicer, higher resolution textures and shinier grounds and those sorts of things. So I'm just still delving into this. My opinions of this may change as this gets updated and as we get closer to release. And overall, I'm satisfied with this, and I am excited to play this with more gamers overall. And I'm excited to see how the landscape for Gears is going to potentially change with the floodgates being open to other platforms.